2,000 buns per minute through his championship record-setting round last year. Notice that uptick at the end rate.
That's what you call out. You know, you think of the DPM, and the fact that he's increasing at the end is really a sign of a champion and a guy maybe who says, look, I want to hit a number. I want to hit 75. I got to up this. He knows exactly where he is at every minute of the contest.
He's broken his own world record 7 times. So when we talked to him yesterday, all too familiar with the pressure of coming into this contest, having to perform.
On your mark, get set, eat.
I don't know why, it's just one of those innate things about human nature is wanting something delicious.
We've become gluttonous and overindulgent. A pie or a hot dog eating contest is the embodiment of this. It's a situation in which you have more food than you need. The person who's the most overindulgent, the person who consumes the most, is praised and actually given an award. So consumption is praised and looked at as a good thing. So it isn't necessary to consume all of that, but it's just being done as a sport, as a form of entertainment. So now, on the other hand, let's take fasting. You're limiting the food that you eat deliberately, something that's essential. You're cutting down on it purposely. It comes with health benefits, specifically physiological benefits, like increasing growth hormone secretion, preventing the growth of cancer. And then you have social and spiritual benefits, like learning restraint and discipline, and breaking bad habits. So now let's take a look at all of this in more detail. So starting off with the scientific benefits. So when we're fasting, our body doesn't have glucose like usual, which is something that the body needs. It's a type of sugar. So then the body has to make its own sugar, and it does so through the process of something called glucogenesis. The liver works its magic, and one thing that it does is convert other things like lactate and amino acids into glucose. Basically, all you need to understand is that it's finding different ways to make the same thing. Since our body is forced to save energy, our metabolism gets more efficient. It lowers our heart rate and our blood pressure. There are different types of fasting, and there is a growing body of research supporting its benefits. One of the types of fasting is called intermittent fasting, and that's when you eat within a certain time frame, then you fast within a certain time frame. So let's say you eat and then you have a 16-hour fast. You don't eat for 16 hours. The month of Ramadan is a type of intermittent fasting. Muslims all over the world fast from a little before sunrise until sunset. Sometimes it's 12 hours, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. So what are these physiological benefits? Number one, it helps control blood sugar. It's useful for people at risk for diabetes, for example. So one study was conducted with 10 people with type 2 diabetes, and with short-term intermittent fasting, they were able to significantly decrease their blood sugar levels. It can also decrease insulin resistance. What that means is the body transports glucose from the bloodstream to cells more efficiently. It may also improve heart health by improving blood pressure, triglycerides, and cholesterol levels. Heart disease is arguably one of the leading causes of death around the world, if not the leading cause. It accounts for 31.5% of deaths globally. A small study found that 8 weeks of alternate day fasting reduced levels of what we sometimes call bad cholesterol and blood triglycerides by 25% and 52% respectively. A study of 110 obese adults fasting for 3 weeks under medical supervision significantly decreased their blood pressure, level of blood triglycerides, and LDL cholesterol, and total cholesterol. Number 3, it also fights inflammation for better overall health. Acute inflammation is basically a normal immune process that aids in fighting infections, but chronic inflammation can actually be a bad thing. Inflammation is actually involved in chronic conditions like heart disease, cancer, and rheumatoid arthritis. So there are numerous studies that have found that fasting can actually decrease levels of inflammation and promote better health. 2 studies found that intermittent fasting for 1 month significantly decreased inflammatory markers. So eating a very low calorie diet, which is basically mimicking the effects of fasting, can decrease inflammation and is actually beneficial in the treatment of multiple sclerosis, which is actually a neurodevelopmental chronic condition. Number 4, it increases growth hormone secretion, which is actually beneficial for growth, metabolism, weight loss, and muscle strength. And several studies have found that fasting may actually increase HGH levels. Number 5 is quite shocking. It can boost brain function and prevent neurodegenerative diseases. While most of the research is based on animals, the results are promising when it comes to humans. Several studies on animals have shown beneficial effects on brain health. A study of mice showed that intermittent fasting for 11 months improved brain functioning and brain structure. Since fasting may help reduce inflammation, it might also help prevent neurodegenerative diseases. Animal studies have shown us that fasting may improve brain function, increase nerve cell synthesis, the creation of new nerve cells, and protect against conditions like Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's. Number 6, it might also aid in weight loss by limiting our calorie intake and boosting our metabolism. Short-term fasting might actually boost our metabolism by increasing the levels of a neurotransmitter called norepinephrine, which could enhance weight loss. Fasting might increase our metabolism and help preserve muscle tissue to reduce body weight and body fat. And finally, last but not least, fasting may actually aid in cancer prevention and help increase the effectiveness of chemotherapy. Animal and test tube studies have shown that fasting may help with the prevention and the treatment of cancer. One rat study actually found that alternate day fasting actually blocked tumor growth formation. And now we get on to the spiritual benefits. So now, if you truly ponder over it, you realize that eating and drinking are not just essential, but they're things that we do every day. In ways they've become sports, as we've talked about regarding the pie eating contests or the hot dog eating contests. We eat for fun. We enjoy different cuisines. Being a foodie is almost a hobby. It's remarkable if you're deliberately avoiding something you need to survive. You're delaying it. If you can see food right in front of you, a foot away from you, on the table, you can see other people eating, indulging. You can smell it. It's all around you. You see advertisements about it, and you can still ignore it. That takes willpower. That takes commitment. If you can say no to that, to food and water, something that you need, something that your body cannot survive without, something that's biologically impossible to survive without, then what about lying or cheating or insulting people, backbiting or cursing? What about these things that aren't essential? Watching things you shouldn't be watching. It really is a practice of delaying gratification. You know that at the end of the day, I will get my food. All I need to do is find a way to delay it. If you've ever heard about the marshmallow test. And delaying gratification has actually been linked to maturity in psychological research. If you can practice delaying your biological needs, then you can certainly not get attached or obsessed with the material things. From a religious perspective, it teaches us not to be slaves of our desires, of material things, because eating is feeding our desires. Being gluttonous is not a good thing. To depend that much on food, to stress eat, to depend on it for your happiness, for your well-being, whenever you feel down. You've become a slave to food. You've become a slave to these things. If you worship God, then you're not a slave to anything else. It liberates you from every other thing. I am Lucid on his stream once. Talking about fasting, and somebody asked, what about your gains, when you go to the gym? Because obviously you might not be able to work out as intensely or at all while you're fasting. And he said, why are you worried about your gains? What is this obsession with getting bigger? Why do you want to get bigger in the first place? Is it really to look better? But why do you want to look better? Is it to impress others, to get attention from other people? Is it for personal satisfaction? But why is it for personal satisfaction? What's wrong with the way that you currently look? Are you obsessed with change and improvement? Don't be a slave of these things. You don't need to be a servant of anything else. If you can control your biological urges, then you can certainly control your carnal desires, your desire for money or extravagance. You can restrain your lower urges, and you can do better. And there are other benefits, like understanding the plight of those who are less fortunate than us, those who deal with situations like this, often even on the daily, who don't know where their next meal is coming from. We know that we're going to get a meal at the end of the day. We're just fasting. But they don't know when their next meal is. The starving children of these various countries, wherever they are, all over the world. This is the plight. It's to understand that there's more to life than indulging. There's more to life than just consumption and enjoyment and entertainment. So try it out. Be like Sonic the Hedgehog. You gotta go fast.